Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar from the series of Zoomed Technology 2021. My name is Barbara Cesakova, and it is my pleasure to be the host for today's webinar, as I was for the previous ones. I can see some of you joining already. I hope it's not your first time watching us this year, but if it is, don't hesitate to go back to the webpage zoomedtechnology.com, where you can watch the recordings of the previous webinars. What have we already covered by this year's conference? We started with power engineering and power plants, both from the point of view of renewable resources and from the point of view of ecology. That is a great topic right now. And then we were moving forward on the way of energy and electricity from the source to the final customers. We were talking about the process of monitoring the way this energy would travel. We were also talking about data and the possibility to use this data for visualizations and how to utilize these visualizations in everyday decision making for big industrial companies. Later on, we moved even to the point of view of monitoring the climate and the people inside of buildings and their movement and everything that is connected even more relevant now in this pandemic situation. So if you are interested in any of these topics, you can watch the previous 5 webinars on the webpage. You can also register there for the next webinar, the last one of this year's series, that will be concerning nuclear power engineering and nuclear power industry. So if you're not interested only in healthcare, but in other fields that require the highest possibility safety, don't hesitate and register. If this is the first time watching us, let me tell you a little bit more about the concept. I have 2 of my colleagues waiting here to tell you all they can about the healthcare and our company's approach to solutions for healthcare industry. And they are also ready to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, just go to the right side of your screen where you can find the Q&A sections, and you can ask anything you would like to know. You can ask during the time my colleagues will speak. I will save the questions for later, and in the second part of our webinar, there will be a time to answer them. So anything that pops into your mind, put it in the Q&A sections, and I will ask it later. So this will be all from me at the beginning, and let's move to the topic. Today's topic is about health industry, and about being smart about your health in the 21st century. As I said, 2 of my colleagues are waiting to tell you all about it. First one of them, Ladislav Kopecký, who will tell you about our mobile apps and about our platform Simonet and the possibility to use it in healthcare. And other colleague, Ondřej Rinke, you might know from previous years of Zoomed Technology. Ondra, so here we meet again after a year, and a lot has changed. What is the biggest change in this last year?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you at this webinar. But there's a lot of things that have changed, but the most important thing is that the healthcare itself has changed significantly. Current trends are represented by terms like telemedicine, e-health, self-monitoring, and so on. So we have been following these trends, and logically our portfolio of products has changed as well. To put it simply, it's not only about medical devices anymore.
It also suggests, well, it is also suggested by the change of the name of the division, switch to services for healthcare subject. So is this new name reflecting the changes that our division has gone through?
Yeah, correct. I've already mentioned this telemedicine. We are discovering very thoroughly, and we are getting ready for this new legislation MDR, which becomes valid this year. And I wouldn't also like to forget our production and testing capacities, where we are able to manufacture components intended for healthcare at industrial quality. And we are also ready to provide our clients with capacity for testing, which makes an integral part of certification process of medical devices.
Thank you, Andra. So now you know what can you expect to hear today. You can learn all about the approach of a technological company in the time of modern healthcare. This will be our point of view, and to begin, let's get to the term e-health and telemedicine that was mentioned as a current trend. Ladislav, could you please explain what these terms mean?
Maro, thank you for the introduction. Welcome to our webinar. Today, I would like to zoom at trends of medicine in 21st century and our approach to the processing of medical data. With the advent of COVID-19 pandemic, topics such as e-health and telemedicine began to be reflected even more than before in real healthcare application. It allows patients more comfortable and safer communication with doctors and access to their medical documentation. Also, e-health saving time for both for patient, even especially for of medics. We have been dealing with this topic for a long time at Zelt. We are creating application based on our platforms for each customer specifically. Do you using mobile application for monitor of your health? You can like to this question in our comments. So I would like to describe to you some modern medical topics. E-health should be described as a digitalization of medical information. It allows remote access to medical documentation, also can be used for remote patient and doctor communication. In of our point of view, increase efficiency and quality of healthcare. Telemedicine is part of e-health, and for interesting combine from the Greek tele, which means remote, and medicine, collecting and transferring medical data from patient to medical systems to doctors. For example, telemedicine devices we can describe as blood pressure monitor, body weight scale, glucometer, permanent thermometer, or any others devices. Each of our application using cybernetic security for security the application and data transferring. It's summary measures of data for security of application and data integration. We are using GDPR, what is EU, European legal form for handling sensitive data, and also the anonymization of data during transfer. During the transfer the data, we are using encrypted collection, which is base of our application. Also, we can use artificial intelligence, which helps with routine tasks such as processing data form and can replace humans on call center as voice recognition, and can be patients can be automatically direct to the doctors. Also can use with automatic answer to frequent asked question. If efficiency we can use for increase the quality of healthcare, saving staff on routine activities in medical centers, and operating cost saving. We are also using two-factor authentication, and in the last time there is a big topic, wearable electronics for monitoring of healthcare. Andro, do you know all these terms?
Yeah, definitely. I have heard about telemedicine and e-health. These terms I know pretty well, but I'm not so sure about this two-factor authentication and wearable electronics in terms of telemedicine. So, Raja, can I ask you to explain this in more detail?
So, two-factor authentication we can use as additional protection data layer for access to the data. We are using username and password, and the second factor should be, for example, hardware key with biometric reader, or it can be mobile phone application for access the allow access to this application, or SMS code which we used for second layer of access. Wearable electronics should be devices, maybe like this watch, which can allow monitoring or health for long time period and allow share data with doctor. Andro, do you understand now better these terms?
Yeah, thank you for your explanation. Maybe I've got another question to you, Vlada. Can you describe how we technically collect the data from the telemedical devices and how we can further use this data in our applications?
So our approach should be described with this workflow, where we collecting and transferring telemedicine data from devices to medical software. We can use, for example, medical telemedicine devices like this. This is blood pressure monitor, and we can read from these devices via Bluetooth or NFC data to the mobile application. We can process this data in mobile application. Patient can view this data and can send this data to medical software. Doctor can analyze the health status of patients and can consultation with patient this data. He can simulate medical software with our platform Simonet. Simonet is platform for collecting of data, and here we can see the view of Simonet on mobile phones. We can see two charts of blood pressure, and for example, here is the same chart in the desktop view. These charts are from systolic and diastolic blood pressure measuring. Andro, I have question. Do you monitor your blood pressure?
Yes, I do. I do it every time when I go to the checkup to my doctor. So in relation to this, I've got a question to you. Can you describe how we can use Simonet in the telemedical context, please?
So we can use Simonet with telemedicine. Also, my colleague can introduce platform Simonet to you in our previous webinars. For example, from the technical to the manager, thanks to clearly visualized data, or smart management of buildings and companies. You can play these records from our web, zoom@technology.com. Simonet is platform for collecting and visualizing not only IoT data, but can be also used for telemedicine data. Here we have an example of diagram of a real room in hospital. For example, we need monitoring patient when leave the bed. We are monitoring red marked areas. This area under window is ignored because due to heating of. For monitoring of this room, we are using multifunction sensors because we replace the camera with this sensor, which is infrared, and patient should have more security and privacy in the room. This multifunction sensor measure patient position, but also measure temperature, carbon dioxide, or humidity and other values. Here we have same room with a matrix of the position sensor, and this room is empty. Only under window is red area, which we ignore because there is a heating. We can see same room with the patient. One patient is laying on the bed and is okay, and second patient leaving the bed and walking around the room. Medical staff should set the alert for these patients, and when they leave the bed, staff is notified by our platform Simonet, and they don't need watching patients all the time. Andro, do you have any other idea for using of Simonet platform in medicine?
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of possibilities how to use Simonet in medicine. But so far we have been speaking about these tools intended for management of medical institutions or for personnel of medical facilities. But how and where do we as ordinary patients get in touch with telemedicine?
We have some e-health applications which are described in future, but now I ask you, do you use mobile application to control of your health? If you like this question in our chat, you can know some of our application, of our e-health application, or you can learn more new functions of our application or e-health solution. Here you can see our e-health application. Now we have 4 applications for 4 customers. From the left to the right, you can see even as a design can be better in time. 2 applications are for health insurance companies, ZP 111, and second application Zdraví na klik. Next application, Health Plus, is for patients for private clinic of program H+. And least but not least, medical for video call of patients and doctors. E-health solution can be divided to some categories, and I describe this e-health solution to you. Telemedical devices and communication with them, for example, blood pressure monitor, body weight scale, glucometer, thermometer, step meter, and next, processing medical documentation, medical reports, medication, medical documentation, or reported healthcare. Elements of advanced advanced data processing like video chat, photo processing, or data analysis. Also, we can monitor of patients' conditions in rooms and patients' comfort. Also, we can navigate a patient to the doctor. Our application increases the efficiency of the healthcare facilities. For example, we can monitoring energy consumption, temperature and humidity control, measure carbon dioxide, window monitor, or alert staff with notification. Also, I can show you users of our application. Each year, users of our application are increases. COVID pandemic increased these trends. You can see green line at the chart at September 2020, when second wave of COVID pandemic came to Europe. There happened bigger increase of the user in our history. Here I have exact numbers of user. The growth of user is accelerating every year. In year 2018, we had 5,000 of new users. In year 2019, it was 7,500 of new users. In year 2020, the increase was 9,600 of new users. And regarding the last 6 months, we have prediction to the year 2021 about 17,000 of new users. So healthcare of 21st century can be described by concept of e-health, telemedicine, security, patient privacy, and efficiency on many levels. If you have any questions to telemedicine or e-health, don't hesitate to use our chat for questions. Telemedicine is focused to diagnostic care during COVID time. We need to be preserve accurate care also. We are preparing to provide follow-up care also. I am referring to our healthcare devices, which we develop and manufacture. These devices meet the requirements of modern healthcare in 21st century. Andro, would you describe these devices more detail?
Yeah, thank you for this question, Aria. I'd like to do it. Each Zoomet is supposed to inform us about the news from that. So at this place, it will be the right place to present our innovation, which is the new device for ozone therapy called Ozone Smart. For some of you, the terms like ozone therapy or treatment using ozone may be completely new. So there comes the question, have you got some experience with ozone therapy? If so, do not hesitate and share it with us here in the chat box. We would like to learn from you. So I would like to, not only from this educational point of view, but in general, I would like to look at ozone therapy now from much wider context, because I think that ozone therapy deserves our attention. It has become a big phenomenon nowadays, and it is getting towards big center of attention. This graph shows increase in number of articles about ozone therapy. All these articles are published in the journals with a high impact factor. The source for this analysis was provided to us by a renowned database of medical literature, PubMed. And you can see that there is a significant increase in the articles. So the question is, what stands behind, or what is the cause of this increased interest in ozone? Before we try to find the answer to this question, so let's introduce ozone as it is. So let's go into the origin of ozone. Whenever we speak about ozone, we can look at this issue from different point of view. First of them can be the historical one. We can say that ozone was used already during the First World War for treatment of wounds after amputation or for treatment of gangrene. Or we can choose a describing or detailizing approach and say that ozone consists of 3 atoms of oxygen, and it has a very extraordinarily strong oxidizing effects. Or for wide non-professional public, that would be very interesting to know which of the celebrities have gone or went through ozone therapy. Probably the most frequently mentioned name here is one of the legends of NBA, Irving Magic Johnson, who at the beginning of the 90s was infected with HIV virus, and also using ozone therapy, he has overcome this virus, so that in 1992 he became a gold medal winner as a member of the great Dream Team, and he performed one of the greatest sports comeback ever. I would like to emphasize this word also because it was also thanks to ozone therapy, because at this point it was some kind of supporting treatment. I will speak about it later. So my point of view at ozone would be as an integral part of modern medicine. I would like to look at it from this point of view. And from this point of view, I see, or I would like to say that ozone is so popular because it helps to treat the diseases or disorders which are directly or indirectly related to modern way of life. We can call this group of diseases civilizational diseases. And we can say that for these diseases, ozone can be very, very useful. Because you can see here a summary of all the effects ozone has. So it can relieve from pain, it can improve the circulation, blood circulation, it can kill the bacteria, fungi or viruses. All these are effects of ozone. This wide variability of effects of ozone is based on, let's say, complexness or functionality of each device used for ozone therapy. When we were developing our ozone therapy device, OzoSmart, we tried to combine both technical and medical point of view. So from the medical point of view, clear thing for us was to use medicinal oxygen for making ozone, while from the technical point of view, we tried to enable the users all scales of applications of ozone. So let's look at all the applications of ozone which can be used. Probably the most famous one is so-called major autohemotherapy, where there is taken out some 150 milliliters of blood, and under strong antiseptic conditions, this blood is saturated with ozone, and using retransfusion, it is put back to the circulation. Very frequent method is ozone insufflation bag. These bags are used mainly for the legs, for the patient's legs, where they eliminate fungi or they heal the wounds. In this context, I would like to again mention contemporary medicine, because these insufflation bags are getting more and more popular for 2 more target groups, let's say. One of them is veterinary medicine, the second one is sports medicine. And I wouldn't like to forget a lot of local applications. What comes to my mind now is, for example, one diagnosis for which the ozone therapy seems to be the best solution. It's intervertebral disc prolapse, where the ozone is applied using a very thin tube to the back part of the patient under CT scan, and the ozone eliminates inflammation which is there and thus helps to put the disc back into its position. So all these applications are possible. And from what I have said, it's quite clear for which areas or which fields we use ozone therapy most. It is podiatry, the treatment of legs, it's dermatology, it's immunology, or spa or wellness as the general. So maybe this was some kind of introduction. Aria, I've got a question to you. After what you have heard now, are you thinking of using ozone therapy?
Interesting question, Andro. Maybe I need more information to respond to your question. Andro, can you zoom in on the position of ozone therapy in the world and in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, I can do it. When we compare these two parts, I must say that the world gets much further in ozone therapy. By this, I do not want to say that there is no ozone therapy in the Czech Republic. It's vice versa. Ozone therapy has got quite a long tradition in the Czech Republic. We have been cooperating with great ozone therapists. And for example, one ozone therapy device is used at the prestigious Institute for Clinical and Experimental Medicine in Prague. So there is a ozone therapy tradition in the Czech Republic. But as I've said, the world has got much further. Currently, there are more than 50 countries around the world that recognize and use ozone therapy as official treatment. And some 10 or 12 years ago, there were established platforms or organizations that are focusing on ozone therapy. The most important or the most famous of them are International Scientific Committee of Ozone Therapy and the World Federation of Ozone Therapy. And these platforms or these organizations, they at first are used for exchanging or sharing information about ozone. And at second, which is even more important, they make some kind of force towards recognition and approval of ozone therapy as an official treatment method within the legislative of each country. So this is the second benefit of these organizations. And when I look at these organizations, I remember now one thing which I would like to say, and which especially with regard to our COVID situation now is becoming very, very interesting and very topical, because in the journals of these organizations, they publish their articles, great ozone therapists and experts in ozone therapy. And one of them was or is an American specialist, Dr. Robert J. Rowan, who in his latest articles has been dealing with the possibility to use ozone therapy for treatment of COVID-19. His theory is based on his very successful activity and treatment in Sierra Leone in 2014, where he cured a lot of patients with the virus Ebola. So Dr. Rowan has now been treated a lot of COVID patients, and the results of his treatment is all the time the same. For all these COVID patients, there is a significant decrease of viral load, and there is also a very significant shortened time of reconvalescence. So we have contacted Dr. Rowan. He confirmed his theory to us, and he referred us to his articles. So we have decided to make up an initiative which would lead to immediate providing of our ozone therapy device for the fight against pandemic COVID-19 here in the Czech Republic. We have got full support from the Association of Suppliers and Manufacturers of Medical Devices, and we are now making steps towards a fastened certification of this medical device so that it can be immediately provided for the fight against this pandemic. So let's hope that our effort will be successful. So after what you have heard, Láďa, I hope that you now learn more about ozone therapy, and this information was useful to you. I hope so.
Ozone treatment was new for me, but I know oxygen therapy, for example, which is very similar, I mean, but I know that there is another devices in our portfolio intended for therapeutic purpose. I mean, smart. Ondro, can you find any other parallels between these two devices?
I can compare them pretty easily. I can find some common points. Both of them, I mean, StimSmart and OzoSmart, they are both therapeutic devices. Logically, their principle of functioning is very different, but anyway, the second common point would be that they both are focusing on this group of civilization diseases, which I've mentioned before. So these are the common points. Let's briefly introduce this StimSmart therapy. StimSmart has belonged for a long time to our portfolio. It is a stable product which we offer. Let's briefly introduce this therapy. It's a non-invasive electrophysiological stimulation of central nervous system, where a patient receives a low dose of low-frequency current at very specified impulses, and it brings some beneficial effects to the deep structure of brain, where there are intersected nerve lanes, where there are the centers of pain centers, and where there is no interference of will. So this is, in principle, the StimSmart therapy. This therapy, or the whole StimSmart concept, was primarily intended for two main diagnoses. The first of them was diabetic polyneuropathy, and the second one of them was microcirculation disorders. Especially in the case of the first of them, I mean the diabetic polyneuropathy, the StimSmart therapy has been very, very successful. Just to make short remark, this diabetic polyneuropathy is the most frequent complication of diabetes, where all diabetic patients, they suffer from large wounds, especially on their legs. And these wounds, they cannot be healed up, they suturate. And just using this StimSmart therapy, we can heal these wounds, and thus we can significantly improve the quality of life of all diabetic patients. It doesn't mean that we cure the diabetes, but as I said, we significantly improve the quality of their life. And this StimSmart therapy has got some, let's say, side positive effects. I would say that using this therapy, we can also put influence on these civilization diseases I've mentioned before. So it reduced the fatigue syndrome, it reduced the load stress, and it also helps to stimulate immune system. So again, from what I have said, it's quite clear for which areas the StimSmart therapy is used for. Mainly it's logically diabetology, then it is podiatry, complication of legs, wellness, spa in general, and rehabilitation. So this was, in very brief way, the recapitulation of our two main therapeutic devices. So Láďa, do you have any other questions related to these devices?
So this type of devices are complicated from technical and certification point of view. Ondro, how would we deal with certification at that?
Yes, thank you for this question, Láďa. It was a good question because we have worked a lot on this, because both our therapeutic devices belong to the class 2B of medical devices, which means quite a sophisticated device with long and complex certification process. Let's compare it to, for example, to class 1 of medical devices, where, for example, all the consumables belong to. So it's incomparable. So as I said, we have gone through a long and complicated process of certification, and we have gained some kind of know-how or some skill of how to do it. And this skill we now use for a new issue which we are facing now, and this issue is related to MDR, the new medical legislation, which will become valid in May this year, and which represents some kind of challenge or nightmare even for a lot of manufacturers of medical devices, because it will have a huge impact on all the processes inside these companies. Let's just introduce this issue again. This new regulation, it concerns regulation of medical devices, and the aim of this new regulation is to ensure safety of medical devices and to increase or enhance traceability of medical devices after they are put on the market. The origin or the cause for implementing this regulation were some cases from the past where there happened or there occurred even threat to the safety and even health of the patients. I remember, for example, the case of breast implants. So this new regulation tries to consistently implement these European quality standards to all the manufacturers. At this point, I would like to appreciate the effort of Association of Medical Suppliers and Manufacturers. I've been mentioning this organization for the second time today, because this association enables its members to adapt this new legislation through organizing a lot of seminars and webinars. I just now remember a series of seminars organized by the association at the premises of Institute of Polytechnics in Jihlava. These seminars were led by Donald Burney, an Irish expert in medical regulation, and we attended these seminars, and it was very, very useful to us because on one side you have the text or content of this new regulation, you understand the content, but more important is to relate this content of this regulation to your product, to your process. So now we have gone through this process, we have worked hard to achieve this position, and now we are in the situation that some companies which would like to certificate their new medical device or which would like to get assistance with their clinical trials or technical files, they approached us and they asked for some support, and we are ready and willing to help them in this field. So maybe just to finish this topic, I would like to summarize the most significant changes that this new regulation brings up along. The first of them is classification, or I would rather say reclassification of all the devices, because the new medical devices are often made of new materials like nanofibers, or they consist of very sophisticated software. So there will have to be performed reclassification of these devices. There is put much more effort to clinical trials, because these clinical trials will have much more strict standards for them, and they have to be saved and archived as well. This is related to the new information system of medical devices, where there has been created a new database of all European medical devices called EUDAMED, and to each medical device there will be given a unique identification code, which would enable easy traceability of these medical devices, especially after they putting on the market. And last thing is related to the post-market surveillance, where all the manufacturers will have the obligation to implement this post-market surveillance into their quality documentation. So as I've said, this was a very brief introduction to this, all the changes that this new regulation brings along.
Thank you both. Thank you, Andrei. Thank you, Ladislav, for the introduction of all that you said, the trends in medicine, our projects that we are part of. We were also talking about the current standard of medical care, and thank you for introducing the medical devices that can help to cure the diseases connected to modern times. So now it is the time for you, our viewers, to give us our questions. I can see that some of you already put them in the Q&A sections. If you haven't already, this is the time to do it because we only have the last 15 minutes to answer the questions. So if you are interested in anything specific, if you have anything in mind you would like to discuss or you would like to know more about, just write it in the Q&A section. You can also give likes to questions of your fellow viewers. So you can let me know by the thumbs up what question would you like to hear answered the most. So now let's get to the questions. So what do we have here? The first one, Andrzej, will be for you because our viewers would like to know when we plan to put the device for ozone therapy on the market. Andrzej, do we have a date yet, or where are we with putting it on the market?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I've been expecting this because it's quite topical. Of course, we would like to put it on the market as soon as possible. That's our intention. But as I said, we are trying to go through this fastened certification, so this putting on the market depends on how we will succeed in it, because we are now depending and we are now in communication with the state authorities to get this fastened certification done. And at the moment when we have gone through, we will try to put it on the market. So I do not know exact date, but we will try to do our best.
Thank you. So you can follow our webpage, you can follow us on social media, and it's guaranteed that we will let you know when the device is on the market. Now, to get to the next questions we have here, one of our viewers would like to know whether they can meet us in person anywhere this year if we are planning any events or exhibitions. Andrzej, do we have any info on this? I know it is a hard question in current times because we don't know if any in-person meeting might be possible, but if we can meet in person, where would it be?
Yeah, as you have said, it depends on many factors. It depends on the development of pandemic situation around the world. But we would really like to visit and to attend two big events which are related to medical field. The first of them is International Trade Fair Arab Health in Dubai in June this year, and the second one is European Trade Fair of Medical Devices. It's Medica in November in Düsseldorf in Germany. But we cannot take it for granted because we never know what the situation will bring up, but we will, at least these two events, we are focusing on a lot.
Thank you. So let's hope the pandemic will allow us to meet, because we can't wait to meet you at these events. And let's move on to the next questions. We have one connected to mobile platforms, so I think this will be the right question for Ladislav. Ladia, which mobile application platforms we do support?
Thank you for your question. So we are developing applications for both mobile platform, iOS of Apple and Android of Google. During the history, we have made some application also for Windows Phone, but now this operating system is almost dead, and none of our customers don't want this type of applications. I hope I answer right to this question.
Thank you, Ladislav. If you have any more questions, whether about our mobile applications or about anything else, you can still write them in the Q&A section. So don't hesitate, because we are here for you, and we would love it if you left the webinar with all the information you wanted to hear, and the only thing to make that happen is if you ask the questions. So we still have some time, so if you would like to know anything, write it down. I will ask the question our speakers. And now to move on. One of our viewers is interested whether there are any other specialists, like Dr. Rowan, Ondra mentioned in his presentation, in the Czech Republic. Ondra, do we have similar doctors who specialize in this field in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, definitely we do. For a long time, we have been cooperating with, for example, among others, with Dr. Zahumensky or with Dr. Vesely, who is a doyen of Czech ozone therapy, and we are planning some common events together with them. One of them can be, for example, organizing of an event which would be called Ozone Meetup, where we would like to invite all the experts in this field, or just the people who are curious about ozone therapy, and we would like to present them with our device, and we would like to talk about ozone therapy in a broad context.
Thank you, Ondra. So I can see some more questions coming up. I have one more for Ladislav. I guess it's about the batteries in our Simunet module. Ladia, how long will the sensors in Simunet last?
So sensor battery life in in our application depends on the period of data reading. So we have many different proposed sensors, but we can say that the battery life can be minimally 1 year and longer. If it is enough for this question.
Thank you. I hope our viewers now have the information they wanted. If you want to know something more, you can still ask the question in the Q&A section. Otherwise, we have two last questions here ready. One is pretty connected to the current topic of the coronavirus. Ondra, did we analyze the possibility to use STIM smart therapy for treatment of COVID-19?
I must say that we have not performed such analysis, so it definitely is worth discussing, but so far the question is that we have not done, or we have not performed this kind of analysis.
Thank you, Andrzej. So I have one last question here. So unless any one of you has anything more they would like to discuss, in that case, this will be the last minute you have to send it in. So don't hesitate. If you were shy up until now, it is time to stop being shy and ask us, because otherwise this webinar will come to its end as the time is coming up and the questions are almost answered. The last question we have here now is about our plans for the Gulf area. Do we have any plans? What are we planning in that area, Andrzej?
Yeah, the Gulf area is in the center of our attention. We have been cooperating with our partners from that area pretty well and for a long time. Just one thing I would like to mention, we have been getting ready for organizing a common meeting at the premises of Czech embassy in that countries. But unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, this plan or this meeting where we would have met our partners from Gulf area was or had to be cancelled due to the COVID. So we only hope that we can either meet our partners during Arab Health, or we can find up some other way how to meet our partners and distributors from this particular area face to face, because from our experience we know that to meet our partners face to face is much more useful than any other online communication. So we would really like to meet them face to face and to put our cooperation further and to arrange some kind of common projects in the future.
Thank you for your answer. Of course, it is always better to meet up face to face, but right now, unfortunately, it is not possible. That is why we decided to do this platform and to do not one day of Zoom technology, but to divide it into 7 webinars so that we can at least a little bit make up for the fact that we weren't able to meet with you as often as we would like. As I can see, there are no more questions from you. I hope that you learned all you came in here to learn, and I hope you will stay in touch with us. You can visit our website on zat.cz, or you could visit the webpage for the platform Simonet if you are interested more about that. So you could go to simonet.eu and you can find more information about the usage of Simonet platform, not only for healthcare, but for other fields as well. You can also check the webpage zoomettechnology.com to view the recording of this webinar and of the previous one. And you can also register for the next webinar we have prepared for you. And the next webinar is about the topic of nuclear resources and about the safety and reliability of the control system we provide. So if you are interested in nuclear industry as well as in healthcare, don't hesitate, register. You can register for free right now at the webpage. I will be there again, and there will be 2 of my colleagues, 2 different ones, the experts on the nuclear power engineering, and they are looking forward to see you as well as do I. So this will be all from today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you think about any more questions, don't hesitate to contact us directly through our LinkedIn profile. That was all from us, all from today's Zoom at Technology webinar. I hope you have a great afternoon and I hope to see you again. Bye.